rapaziada, beleza? Rogério Lacerda trazendo mais um vídeo pra gente nesse canal, e hoje vou fazer aqui um vídeo diferente porque eu vi este vídeo, essa entrevista do canal Bloco do Pink Floyd, né? E é uma entrevista raríssima do Richard Wright, feita aí com a Bruna Lombardi em 1996, na ocasião do lançamento do disco Broken China, do Richard Wright. Então eu vou colocar aqui, vou estar postando aqui essa entrevista muito interessante mesmo. E gostaria de pedir aí você o seu like, a sua inscrição, você que não é inscrito. E fiquei com essa entrevista. Essa entrevista ela mostra muito da faceta do Richard Wright, aquele cara introspectivo, que realmente você que percebe que ele não se achava tão valioso como ele realmente era dentro ou fora do Pink Floyd. Uma pessoa tímida, mas extremamente educada, né? Você vê aqui a Bruna Lombardi quase que em êxtase, entrevistando esse grande músico que perdemos aí, e com ele a chance de talvez o Pink Floyd se reunir novamente. Então fica com a entrevista aí.
Right. Tell me, you are one of the most interesting artists of rock history. I mean, even if you don't like to be one of them, but you are, right? I mean,
Okay.
Pink Floyd is one of the most important groups ever.
Yes, I would agree with that. Yeah.
But
Okay.
what a tough story.
What a
Tough
tough.
story.
It's not so tough. Quite honestly, it's a long story. Yeah.
The Sid departure, when he left
Yes.
the band,
Yes.
he had the problem with acid, right?
Yes. Correct.
And it was a big trauma, was a moment very tough for you guys. I mean, since then, it was a turbulence in the air of the band.
Yes, it was. Yeah. So it's when because basically when we started the band, Sid was ready. He was writing all the songs, and he was a big influence on the band. And basically, we were performing his songs. Sid, sadly, it was a drug problem. He took too much acid. And so at that point, it was difficult for us as a band. I mean, I really think possibly we could have stopped, but something made us go on. The next crisis is then possibly in about 1980 when we did The Wall. Those were the two periods when members of the band left. First of all, Sid left, and then actually after The Wall, I left.
Sometimes a band, a group, the relationship is different. And the music is wonderful and personally is very tough.
Yes.
Do you think was a problem of different temper or satanic genius?
By the time we'd come to do The Wall in 1980, Roger had begun to believe that he was the Pink Floyd. He began to believe that he was
The leader.
the leader, but more than that, that others, we weren't necessary. And that is why I left. By this time, Roger was on his ego trip, and we didn't get on for some time, for maybe 3 or 4 years before that. He simply said, I don't want Rick to be in the band anymore. And I had no choice, because he said, basically, if you don't leave, I'm going to take The Wall, which is recorded as a Pink Floyd record, and you do it myself.
And you guys fought for the name, Pink Floyd?
After I left the band, they made, Dave, Roger and Nick made another album called The Final Cut. And it was that time that same reasons. Dave and Nick and Roger didn't get on, and they had terrible fights. So what happened after that was that Roger basically said, I'm leaving the band, I've had enough, I don't want to work with you anymore. He's saying that to Dave and Nick. Left, and then Dave and Nick later on in 86 said, well, we're going to carry on working as the Pink Floyd. And then he actually tried to stop them using the name and stop them and me, because I joined later on. being the Pink Floyd. And that was great, because that was wonderful. It was a great tour. It was a huge relief for me, because I was now back in the band. It was a huge relief for Dave and Nick, because they were fighting Roger. And Roger was saying they can't, you know, he was trying to stop them being Pink Floyd. And we would be performing, and our audience would be holding up banners saying, you don't need Roger, we don't want Roger, we love you, Dave, Nick and Rick.
At that moment, at that time, you had your second album solo, was Identity.
That was in 80, before, 84.
And you said that that was an experimental...
Yes, that's true. Yeah. Mistake. I don't regret doing it, but I have to say I don't think it's a good record. Certainly, if you want to talk about the English characteristics, we are kind of reserved. We hide our feelings inside ourselves. We don't express ourselves. We don't let our anger get out. And this is true of me. And these are the very things that can cause depression. I've never been to Brazil, but I imagine
we are the opposite.
It sounds crazy, but you know.
No, it doesn't.
But there is actually a recognized illness now, is lack of sunlight causes depression, and it's something I happen to love the sunshine, and even though I come from England.
Garbage, that group of rock, they say music that I only happy when it rains. For instance. Even Pink Floyd music, as well, your solo music, there is this touching, this existential feeling.
Music for me, in the end of the day, is to try and express emotions, and also to conjure up images, if you like, visual images in your head. If I stay at home and listen to music, it's to be carried away in the music. To feel the emotions, to feel the anger, to feel the pain, but to feel pleasure. We all actually took drugs, but I have to say right now that there's one of the misconceptions about Pink Floyd is that we're all heavily influenced by drugs, and the only reason we could play the music we played was because we're all on drugs. This is completely untrue. I have to say, actually, if I took drugs, I couldn't even play a note on my piano. Could it happen to me once, and it's impossible. But so I think, actually, looking back, I think it's very sad, the drug situation. I think it's even worse today.
And why do you think the drug situation is always related with rock and roll?
It's quite possible, but it's not just rock and roll. I think the worst thing about drugs is if you have nothing in your life, if you have no direction, that is terrible. I mean, I think about, I don't know what it's like in Brazil, but in England, we have lots of kids who have no jobs, they have no real homes, they have no future. They're the ones who are taking the worst drugs. Back when we were in the late 60s, we believed wrongly that, for example, acid was an enlightening drug and would help everyone to understand the world and come to love and peace, etc., etc. But it's not true. It was dangerous. I can only say as a person and myself, I don't like drugs because I like to be in control. And one of the things that drugs does to a person is make you have no control.
You were on tour when you start thinking about this third album, solo.
Yeah. No, I was thinking...
How started the concept? How did you start thinking?
Album.
Your album.
Yes.
Now,
okay. Actually, while we were recording Division Bell, I think it was probably certain frustrations of certain of the music that I was writing for Division Bell wasn't being used. But there's another story why I went straight into this album, of course.
Why?
Why? Because at the time of recording Division Bell, my girlfriend, now my wife, suffered depression, clinical depression. If you want to know about the relationship, interestingly, was that in the beginning, before she realized or I realized what was going on, we thought our relationship was over, finished, because she was very sad and very depressed, and she blamed it all on our relationship. And I was there thinking, why? There's nothing wrong.
I am so guilty.
Yes.
And usually depression makes people fear depression.
Yes.
You know, they fear. So they run away. They don't want to face it. And you were there. You were supportive to this.
But it's interesting you say Runaway, because that's one of the titles on the album. And that is part of the time when you actually escape from the fears that you've hidden in your childhood. All that really affected me quite deeply. So I had something that I needed to say in this album, Broken China, which is actually about my feelings and what I saw her suffering from depression. That's what Broken China is actually about.
Depression is related with childhood?
Yes.
Do you think so?
Well, I know so in this case. This album is actually divided into 4 parts, and the first part is childhood, because in her case, she didn't know why she was depressed, but through therapy, it discovered that as a child she hadn't had a happy childhood, that her parents weren't there to help her, emotional abuse, a lack of love, etc., etc., and she was hiding these things. And when you hide things as a child, you escape, but eventually it's going to catch up.
Do you think for yourself, this kind of melancholy, this kind of sadness is close to you?
Yes, that's interesting. You mentioned the word melancholy, because I think I tend to write rather melancholic music. I like that feeling. And melancholy is not just necessarily sadness. It's just all sometimes peaceful. And melancholy is an interesting emotion. So yes, in a sense, what happened to her was the kind of feelings that I find easy to express musically anyway. So it was, it's funny to say this, but writing this album, Broken China, and recording was actually a lot of fun. I certainly wouldn't want to write music to make people feel depressed. That, no way. But in the end, a musician, an artist, can only express what he feels.
Do you see any difference when you work by yourself and when you work with a band? Do you feel more control? Do you feel more comfortable working by yourself?
Yes, more control. Obviously if you work by yourself, you do have more control. It's a lot of fun it was a lot of fun doing my solo record, because I didn't have to persuade anyone how I wanted the sounds or how I wanted to play the keyboards. It was for me, just for me.
You work in this album with Shannon O'Connor.
Yes.
She's gorgeous. She's wonderful.
She's wonderful, yes. And I chose her because I love her voice. I think she's talking about music and emotion. I hear something in her voice that's just very magical. And that's why I asked her to appear on the album. And I'm so happy she did, because the way she interpreted the 2 songs was wonderful. I spoke to her on the phone and said, I'm doing an album, and I sort of explained to her what the album was about. And I said, would you be at all interested? When she came to the studio, it was just myself there and Anthony and Tim Rennick, who played guitar, and we were sitting there, and she came, and we played her the songs, and we showed her the lyrics, and Sinead, bless her, she just made a decision then. She said, I want to do it. I want to do it.
Only teenagers could talk about rock and roll, and but nowadays it's different. There are lots of bands and groups, and they are quite middle-aged people.
Yes.
How do you explain this? How do you explain it?
It's just got so much bigger. Clearly, some of the music we play, I mean, it's just got so much bigger. The whole business, the whole area of music has grown out of all proportion to how I saw it when we started. I suppose you could say punk was a rebellion in a sense. But yes, rock and roll was rebellion. The blues that came before rock and roll was if you like, the black people, not rebelling, but trying to express the way they were treated At the moment, it's not rebellion.
When you see bands, when you see groups around, what do you like nowadays?
I have to say, at my age, I tend to fall back into the music I know and I love from my past. If I start naming names, I listen to old blues players. I listen to I love jazz, so I listen to a lot of jazz. I listen to classical music, and it's all sorts of areas of music. And what I hear on the radio, I don't like.
Because what has changed is now you are wealthy, revered from, millions of people all over the world think, oh, Pink Floyd and you.
Yes.
This is different. I mean, it's different inside of you.
Then to...
It used to be when you were...
Well, yes.
Yes.
Of course it's different, yes.
How do you assimilate this whole stuff?
Well, I don't think about it that much. And actually, I'm sure you know, we've never been stars. We've never been heroes ourselves as people.
Inside of you, but you're a rock star.
Yeah.
You are.
No, I'm not.
You're
I
not?
disagree. I'm not a rock star. I'm actually a keyboard player of Pink Floyd. And Pink Floyd is much bigger than any of us.
Even though the success, the pressure, the tour, the fans are there.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Do you think how can you keep yourself so honest with yourself, with your music, with your soul, with your heart? As
This
you
is
said?
heavy.
It's heavy.
All we can do is play music that we like. And it's been the thing for Floyd ever since we started. Not do what the record company wants, not do what even our fans want, just do what we want. Okay, we have pressures to make the next album, we have pressures to what the show's going to be like, but we don't have pressures as personalities, because the Pink Floyd is me, Dave, and Nick at the moment. And I tell you, if the next album we do, people don't like it, they're going to tell us. And maybe we'll do an album they don't like. We've given a lot of pleasure to people for a long time. And hopefully we'll carry on doing that. But I can't analyze why we go on forever or why the music goes on forever.
What would you like to do next? A solo record?
No, I'd like to actually go and do a record with the band.
So you'll be in between, by yourself, doing project for yourself?
Yes. I've done this, and that inspired me to Broken China to do another one. I have plans to do another one, but I also know that we're going to do a Pink Floyd album. So the two go together. I love peace, I have to say. This is why, one of my passions is sailing, and one of my passions is to be on my boat in the middle of the ocean with complete, just the wind, just the water, and possibly a dolphin swimming by, etc., etc. That is bliss for me, and that is peace. And so I think my music, if I'm angry with for whatever reason, I get on my piano and play the piano to relax, to try and get peaceful. So essentially, that is what I love about music. Well, it's a pleasure to make music.
Of course.
Yes, and it's a pleasure to make music with Dave and Nick. It's great to do one's own work, but it's also still a lot of fun working with Dave and Nick, and we still got a lot of things to do. As long as Dave, myself, and Nick are happy working together and making music together, as long as it isn't too exhausting, we're going to carry on. But
it's a journey.
It's a journey, exactly. But that's what I'm looking for.
Do you think the journey of Pink Floyd can go forever?
Not forever.
Indefinitely, let's say.
It can carry on. It will carry on. I know that we're going to do another album. I know that Dave is ready very soon to do one. It won't go on forever.